Welcome back, everybody, to the Allen Hour. We got ourselves a one hell of a video today. We're breaking down all the action from last night and from New Year's Eve a couple nights ago. Some really, really big upsets and some really big wins as well. The big one, Ole Miss, Georgia, what a win there. And the even bigger one, Miami upsetting Ohio State, the number 2 seeded team in this whole thing. The undisputed number 2 best team in the country, no more to this point. It was just a crazy, crazy couple days of games. And I got to give kudos to both you, Andrew, for the Miami pick, and you, Dan. I know it's your team, but at the end of the day, your guy Trinidad Chambliss really showed up for Ole Miss, and I think showed everybody that maybe doesn't watch every single Ole Miss game that guy really just has it all. And selfishly, I regret moving him down in the top quarterback rankings that we did in our last video. I had him at 2. And before I revealed my list, I moved him down to 4. So selfishly, I regret doing that. I think he's now way up there, number 2, right behind Mendoza. Maybe you make the argument he's the best, just in terms of pure talent. But set that aside. We'll get to that. Let's get to the games. And I think we should start with Ole Miss, Georgia, and then we'll make our way to Miami, Ohio State, because the other 2 games were washes. And they went – one of the games went the way we all thought they would go. The other one went a way Andrew thought it was going to go. But we'll start with Ole Miss, Georgia. Dan, I'm going to go to you first because you are the Ole Miss fan on this program. And, you know, it was the tale of 2 games this year against the Georgia Bulldogs. The first time you guys played them, you had the lead the entire time. You guys were in full command of the game. And then in the last quarter, the closing minutes, it just flipped it on its head. This time around, you outscore the Bulldogs 27-13, and you get the late win against the Georgia Bulldogs down in New Orleans.
Yeah, I mean, I got 3 letters though. Just help to ask. PTA. Yeah, as you mentioned, what a victory. Also, like what a game. Just watching it.
Yeah, really.
Sitting there as a fan, back and forth with all that game. Trinidad threw for 362. Both of the wide receivers, Harrison and Wallace, that we mentioned, Andrew, that needed to step up. Harrison, Wallace, and Deshaun Stribling, 156, 122. So they played really, really well. That defense, they got hung up 43 points on them. And Pete Golding was, and you could tell he's been on them since that. And they played so well. Besides, in the first half, they're missing some tackles. They needed to get Georgia off the field on 3rd and long, and they failed to do that. And they still won this game, which is unbelievable. I was getting really upset when they just couldn't wrap up. It was like 3rd and 12, 3rd and 9. Just get off the field. First down, missed tackle or whatever, or soft coverage. Yeah, I'm just really proud of this team. And Trinidad, his story is just pure bliss. I mean, getting no offers, winning a couple natties on the D2 level with Ferris State, and receiving Heisman votes this year. I think he came in 7th or 8th, but he really showed up, and he showed that he is, if he's not the best, he's one of the top quarterbacks left in college football. Hope he has another year of eligibility next year, or I hope he gets granted one. And just we're super proud of this team. And Quan Lacey playing there with a bum shoulder, and he's still lowering the shoulder on people, which is awesome. He had 12 carries for 31 yards in the first game, 22 for 99 and 2 touchdowns in this game. Just unbelievable stuff. I saw that they wanted to go to him early and often, which they did. And the first couple drives, he barely went off the field and they were feeding him, which was a great sign. Again, just what a game to watch if you just love college football. Yeah, I mean, what a game. And props to Georgia there. I thought that they were the best team in the country, and the hottest team in the country, which I think is true. But yeah, I mean, just super proud of the Ole Miss Rebels, hotty toddy, and that's all I have to say for right now. I'm sure I'll have more to say, but yeah, definitely a great game if you're a fan of college football as well. And they doubled their amount of sacks, which they did in the first game. I think they had 0. Now they had 2. So yeah, I thought they were getting to the quarterback. You saw Prince Will Eccles, and the big guy in the middle, Harris. He was throwing his body up for batting passes down and stuff. But yeah, super proud of this team.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to end up eating humble pie on this one. Thankfully for the rest of the video, I should be right on most other things. But it was just a great game. Honestly, it got to a point where I didn't really know who I was rooting for. I was just rooting for a classic finish. Was kind of hoping it would go to overtime. It didn't end up going to overtime. But I mean, Ole Miss is just, it's unbelievable they won this game. If you told me Georgia was going to be able to run the ball as efficiently as they were able to run the ball, if you told me Georgia was going to get a scoop and score for a touchdown, if you told me they were not going to turn the ball over, right? If you told me they were going to get a fake punt and that was going to end up turning into a field goal at some point, like I would say, and if you told me they scored 34 points, I would say, yeah, Ole Miss, sorry, like take a seat. But you have playmakers on that team, and the number one was Trinidad Chambliss. They allowed 0 sacks in this game, Ole Miss. And I don't necessarily think it's because of the Ole Miss O-line at times. I thought it was because Trinidad. I mean, he was swerving all around the pocket, all around the field, trying to avoid pressure, and just made that many more plays than Gunnar Stockton. There's a reason we all had him ranked higher. I know Dylan wishes he ranked him a little bit higher, but he has that ceiling, man, where he could just take over a game the way that he did, and it was honestly incredible. And I thought that the point that I brought up about Georgia not having enough playmakers offensively, I thought that maybe hurt them a little bit. They didn't really know who to go to. It was Zachariah Branch for the most part, but they were throwing at guys who had 6 receptions on the year, who had 1 touchdown on the year. Like they were trying to, right. They were trying to throw to guys that they haven't been using. They were trying to mix it up, but it felt like Ole Miss just went back to who they believed in, right? Their guys, their wide receivers, obviously Kawan Lacey, who I'm going to correct myself. I said the wrong name last time. Trinidad Chambliss. They just have a bunch of playmakers that went out there and balled. That defense kept their head down. I was pretty shocked that Kirby Smart went for it down 3 points on his own 33-yard line. He was still in that game. Maybe that's the difference in the game. But yeah, just so many plays. I do want to point out that there was just an absolute blatant face mask on Ole Miss or on Georgia that was missed completely. I think it needs to be a reviewable play. We don't have to talk about that now. I feel like it's a blatant thing. It's either you grab the face mask or not. Maybe it should be reviewable. But if Georgia ended up winning that game, you would have seen a lot of that on Twitter this morning. You would have seen a lot of that all over the place. So that was really unfair to them. I'm glad Ole Miss pulled it out. And man, that kicker is damn good.
Oh,
I got some nuggets on him, Dylan, when you're done.
Yeah, please. I mean, listen, as a Giant fan, watching our kicker lose his feet in the effing grass every kick, I see this guy knocking 56-yarders and they're good from 65. Yeah. Can we get this guy in the 5th round? Is he draft eligible? That's what I'm hoping for, honestly, selfishly as a Giant fan. But yeah, I mean, listen, the takeaway that I had, and Andrew, to your point, where talking about Kirby Smart going for it, I really just think, and I know you're going to say, well, the risk if you don't get it is that you give this highly touted, talented quarterback really good field position to kind of just bury you. But I really do think he lost confidence in his defense. I think he felt the offense at that point in the game was the reason they were in a position to win, and they were going to be the reason they won. And I think he was truly scared his defense was not going to get the stop they needed. And so again, you might question and go, well, why give it to him on the 30? I just truly think that he felt in that moment the offense was going to win him that game, and he was going to live and die with it. And so he made the judgment call there. And Trinidad Chambliss showed you over the course of that game as to why keeping the ball out of his hands as long as you can, really was the difference. And that throw at the end on the 3rd and 5 that got them into field goal position to take the lead. It was very reminiscent of the throw Fernando Mendoza made in the Big Ten championship game on that final drive to put away Ohio State to Charlie Becker. Just let the guy air it out. It was good defense in the Indiana game. The defense this time wasn't as great, but I mean, it wasn't like it was horrific. Just let your guy make a play. And it was a ballsy call, because if it's incomplete, it's 4th and 5, and you're punting the ball back to Georgia with some time. And this is a team, as you said, already faked the punt. They did the onside kick against Texas in the regular season. So this is a team that messes around with special teams. Maybe they bring a pump block unit and they get you never know what happens. That's a risky play to call a pass on 3rd and 5 when you could run it and you could play it safe or whatever, just take it to overtime. But they put the ball in the hands of the guy who put him in the position they were in, and they fully trusted him. So that was really eye-opening to me. And the Georgia defense overall, just the second half collapse. The first half I thought was a very good game. 12 points allowed. They get the scoop and score towards the end of that second quarter that gave them the 21-12 lead. And then in the second half, it just imploded. And Trinidad Chambliss had his way. I mean, you can't allow 2 receivers to have over 120 yards each. That just can't happen. Allowing both of them to have 40-plus yard receptions as their longest of the night, that just, that can't happen on the back end. And then Kawan Lacey, I thought he was going to, at some point, maybe tweak something, because he left the game against Tulane twice. It did not happen. So I will be the first to say that. Kawan Lacey kudos to him, man. 22 carries. So that's a big workload for a guy who exited a game 2 weeks ago twice, had only so much time to kind of rehab it, and to give him the rock 22 times on the ground, that's no easy feat. So I give him all the credit in the world. Ole Miss, I tell you, this matchup with Miami is going to be something, because you're having a matchup of this really, really good offense with arguably now the best quarterback remaining in the whole thing. I mean, you could make that argument over Fernando Mendoza in terms of just pure talent, versus what's looked like the best pass rush we've seen, not just in this playoff, but maybe I say in like the last couple of years in the playoffs, because I feel like Miami, that unit alone, has been such a game record. I don't recall such a unit like that in past years. So this is going to be an all-time matchup, and I can't wait to see it unfold. I hope it's not one of those games where one of the teams doesn't show. I hope we get the best of the best on both fronts, because it is shaping up to be one of the better games of the playoff. Just highly powered offense, highly powered pass rush, and defense. Who is going to win? Who's going to prevail? And history would tell you, at least the OGs would tell you, defense wins championships. But this is 2026 now. Happy New Year to everybody tuning in. So you never know what'll happen. But Ole Miss beating Georgia 39-34. A heck of a game, no doubt about it. Now moving to the first shocker game of this entire slate that happened on New Year's Eve, just about an hour before the ball dropped. Miami defeating Ohio State 24-14. They had a 14-0 lead at the half, and they were able to do enough, make enough plays in that second half to pull away against an Ohio State team that started to kind of get their feel of the game. But it was too far, too late. And I mean, Andrew, I'll let you start with this, because not only were you the only person on this panel that picked Miami plus the 9.5, but for the reasons you highlighted as to why they would cover, it not only covered them the game, it won them the game outright by 10 points. And I think now everyone is seeing what you saw, not just before this game, but before as well against A&M, because you mentioned the pass rush and all that. So I'll let you have your moment here.
Yeah, well, thank you. That was such a gracious intro there. I've had the colors back here. I'm going to keep having them up, unfortunately, for the Ole Miss fans. But yeah, I mean, look, it's played out like I thought. There was a reason why I picked in the segment that we picked an underdog or someone to go on a run. There's a reason why I picked Miami. It's risky. They have a big path, but they got a big O-line and they got a big D-line, and they build in the trenches. And I had my questions about Mario Cristobal as a coach. I didn't really know what to make of him yet. I've seen him play plenty of games where he's made stupid decisions, but so far so good, and they're really, really good. They are game-wrecking on the defensive line, and it's just – It was the theme for Ohio State, in games where they weren't letting up sacks, they were winning. In games they were letting up sacks, they weren't. And especially running the ball, too, on the offensive line for Miami. I mean, that's what really allowed them to control the game as well as it did on offense. We've seen 3 games this year where Ohio State has allowed more than 100 rushing yards to their opponent. It was Texas, who they struggled with in the first game of the season. It was Indiana, who they just lost to. And it was Miami, who they also just lost to, right? And that was the theme. If they can't stop the run as well as they normally have, it's dangerous. And not only could they not stop the run, obviously Miami got to the quarterback more times, I think, or just as many as Indiana did. And it was really something special to see. And I honestly still believe that that's not even the best version of Miami that we're going to get. I know we mentioned here that Carson Beck probably to win this game needed to have like an all-time performance. I don't think he had anywhere close to that, right? So no. I think there's a lot of room for them to grow. I think they're better than what they've shown, at least offensively. And I can't wait to see where they take this thing, because I think there's a real shot. And I think people are starting to finally realize now there's a real shot that they could actually win this entire thing.
And they have so much depth, too. You mentioned the pass rush. It's not like it's just 1 or 2 guys. They just have a revolving door of people up front. And it's so hard to prevent it, because it's just fresh legs the entire game. Ruben Bain is probably the name that you think of first, right? He had a sack in this game. But then you forget about a guy like Hakeem Mesidor with 2 sacks. Wesley Basaint, he had a sack. And I remember calling the game when I was at school at Rutgers, like the Pinstripe Bowl. Some of these guys were on this team, not Ruben Bain, not Mesidor, but Wesley Basaint, I believe at the time, was a freshman, like a highly touted freshman, and he played in that game, and that was the only guy they had on that team, and you saw the talent when he was playing. And now you add a bunch of guys to this lineup, and it's really tough to defend. And I don't know, Dan, maybe you can ask Jordan. Now that I know who the Ohio State fan is, Jordan, welcome. Thank you for tuning in, brother. You can ask him, like, I assume he was the one who told you Shabola not playing was probably a good thing for them.
Yeah, it was him.
Yeah, I would like to ask him his thoughts on how he felt the backups played in that position at right guard, because it just didn't seem like it really helped all that much, because it was just such a difficult task with that pass rush, having to really just defend that. And it's a big ask for people that don't really play a whole lot, replacing someone, whether he's been good or bad, replacing someone with 30 plus starts in his career at that position. You know, it's a difficult ask for Miami to be the first team. You have to block and you have to assign, like, hey, go out there and block Wesley Toussaint, go out there and block Akeem Mesdor, go out there and block Ruben Bain. That's a tough assignment. So I'm curious to see what he has to say. But with that said, I think the big discussion here is, Andrew, you alluded to it, Ohio State got exposed. And this ties in with possibly some weak scheduling. Now, personally, the schedule, like with Big Ten stuff, it's not really up to them. They don't control who they play in the conference. Michigan is the only constant every year they play. So maybe it just happened to be a down year for the Big Ten. We're kind of seeing that a little bit around the conference. Michigan getting their ass kicked by Texas. USC blowing a game against TCU. The only real highlight win was Iowa over Vanderbilt. So you got to give the Hawkeyes credit. But the Big Ten as a conference, maybe it was a down year. So maybe the competition, other than Indiana and Oregon, wasn't great this year. And Ohio State didn't play either of those teams until the Big Ten championship game. So did we really get an idea of this Ohio State team? I don't think we did. And I said this to Andrew when this game went final with Miami. I said, had we had another game either in the middle of the schedule, towards the end of the schedule, where they played a team with an elite pass rush, and those problems were exploited, I think more people would have been awoken to the issue. The problem is, when they played Texas week 1 and the pass rush for the Longhorns was an issue, a lot of people likely chalked it up to, it's the first week. Everyone's trying to figure it out. Julian's saying it's his first start. You know, shit happens. Then you fast forward to week 13 and you see it happen again. And you're like, well, it's only happened now twice. There was no game from week 2 to week 12 that really showed you an elite pass rush. And then you get back to back, and now it's a constant. They've struggled all 3 games against elite pass rushers, and they went 1-2 in games. So unfortunately, there was not a pattern of that until the very end. So kudos to you, Andrew, for finding out and kind of seeking that out over the course of the season for the Buckeyes, and some much reflection going to be done by the Buckeyes. Because now you think about Ryan Day's track record. The national championship last year is the saving bacon right now for his tenure at Ohio State. Let's not cut this dry. They hadn't been to a Big Ten championship game since 2019. They lost this year's Big Ten championship game to Indiana. They lost 4 in a row to Michigan. They broke that streak this year, right? Then they lose a game that they're 10-point favorites. Like, it's really something to talk about with Ryan Day. Other than that one run last year, has he really lived up to the Ohio State expectations? And that's a question to be asked. Because I don't know. I don't think he has. And I'm not saying he's getting fired, not calling for his job, but it really is something. Like last year, was it just a magical run? Were they just the hottest team at the right time? Because every other time, it just seems like he's not living up to these games.
I mean, I'll step in here before Dan covers his side of things. But I don't know if it's fair to question Ryan Day at this point. I mean, he got slapped in the face by a terrible Michigan team last year and just came out and ran off like the 4 best wins of the season, right? Absolutely dominated against Tennessee, crushed Oregon, a team they'd already lost to. Like, I think that run last year was really, really special. I think they just ran into a buzzsaw, and maybe they ran into a team that they weren't necessarily prepared. I mean, how many times can we say this year that you could argue a team with the better O-line, the better D-line was getting 10 points in a game, right? Like, I don't think a lot of people saw this coming if you weren't really looking too close at it. And I still think Ohio State's a great team. You could be talking about their 2 losses being against the 2 teams that end up being in the national championship, right? So I don't know if it's fair to say that we should start questioning what Ryan Day has done. I think there's a lot of turnover every single year with Ryan Day. All his guys are going to the draft. He had 2 new coordinators this year. He's probably going to have 2 new coordinators next year. We'll see what happens with Matt Patricia. But there's a lot of turnover for Ryan Day. He has a national championship under his belt after probably his worst loss as a coach. I think this is maybe this was a lack of preparation. Maybe you could say that for Ryan Day, not being prepared enough against a Miami team like this. But I don't think it's fair to say we should question him just yet. We'll see how it continues to go.
Yeah, I love when the Allen brothers go back and forth. It's great. But I'm looking at this game and like we mentioned Carson Beck. Like I said, he had to be like sensational. This was just a mediocre performance from Carson Beck, and they still won this game. And Andrew, shout out for you. Shout out to you for saying that they'll score 24 points. They could win this game in
Yeah,
the
bro.
last episode.
I didn't even
because,
acknowledge that. That's on me.
Yeah.
That's you, Dan, remembering.
Well, he sent us the clip after Miami won. But yeah, I mean, like, and saying through for like 287 yards, and I think it was a lot. Like that defense was just too overwhelming for Ohio State. Ohio State went 3 of 10 on third down, and Miami went 7 of 14. Like that's a pretty big difference, and I think that's really what it came down to. They were getting a lot of pressure, and Julian Sam looked very, very uncomfortable in what probably was, if not his worst game of his career, it probably was. Jordan, and shout out Jordan, he texted me back. He said that they threw two backups in, one in the first half, one in the second half.
Right.
He said that the first half was awful. His name is Vince. His last name is Van Sickle. He was awful, and Padilla in the second
Padilla, yeah.
was
Okay,
a lot
yeah.
better.
Gotcha.
And Padilla in
Okay.
the second was a lot better. Shout out Jordan for answering that quick.
Yeah, shout out, Jordan. Thank you.
Like Jeremiah Smith, like he did his thing, 7 for 157. And it goes back to teams in this college football era now being 1-7 after the bye. I mean,
Mhm.
like I guess something's got to change there. I don't know, but and Mark Fletcher, he did his thing. He ran all over that defense. And the crazy thing is Ohio State outgained Miami too in total yards, but Miami's defense was just way too overwhelming, and they were just. I feel like every time I was watching, it was just pressure, quarterback pressure. Like Julian had no time to throw, and those two interceptions proved costly, and obviously that pick six too, in the first quarter. Yeah, he looked very, very uncomfortable, and I'm going back to Carson Beck. Um, if he can, have another game like this, and Ole Miss can score points, I'm very confident Ole Miss. I'm going to leave it there for the next episode when we preview these next two games. But yeah, I mean, a shout out Carson Beck. I'm sure he wanted to play Georgia. Sorry, that's not going to happen, bud. But yeah.
I will say this though. This is going to be an interesting topic when we get to our preview video of the next round sometime next week. Like looking at this game, because when we talked about Ole Miss and Georgia's lack of getting a sack in that game, Andrew, you kind of alluded to it. Trinidad Chambliss, his ability to navigate in the pocket and just kind of run out of the pocket, get away from sacks. And I wonder if this is going to be the most difficult quarterback Miami has faced to sack. Like this pass rush has been elite, but it's also been against Julian Sayin, who's not the greatest, not the mobilest quarterback, and he's a freshman. He just doesn't navigate it as well as we've seen Trinidad Chambliss do it. And I know Marcel Reed, you could say, yeah, he's right up there. But I'm just curious to see how Trinidad kind of navigates that pocket, because we saw yesterday Georgia had a really tough time, and maybe that's a topic of discussion.
I think another topic is teams on the bye that one
100%.
100%.
So I know Dan Lanning for Oregon has been a big proponent to this. He's been talking about it with the media. He actually said that that game yesterday with Texas Tech, and we'll get to that game, that they should have been playing in Lubbock, Texas. Like that should have been a home game. So not even just like the dates of these games. He wants these games to be at the home stadiums because he feels these teams deserve a home game, which I can kind of agree with, because at the end of the day, like you get a top 4 seed, you win your conference championship, and you're up there, and you have to wait 2 weeks to play a team that played a game that possibly can get hot from that game and gain a lot of momentum. And you're supposed to, like, during that week off, create a simulated game in practice, try and emulate what it's going to be like. And then you got to go travel to a neutral site. And it's just not as big of an advantage as you would think. And right now it's showing 1-7, because when we broke down these games, we all collectively thought that last year was kind of just a one-off, with having Boise State and having Arizona State being 2 of the top 4 teams getting those automatic bids. And we looked at the Oregon loss as just Ohio State was just a steamrolling team that had a really good roster, and that's true. But now you look at this year, like Miami beating Ohio State. Ohio State looked like they weren't prepared for a half of football. It looked like very similar to last year. So there will definitely have to be some conversations with the college football committee, whoever makes those decisions with the NCAA to restructure this whole thing. And we could go down the rabbit hole of the transfer portal, the window when that opened and closes. I think it opened today, which is kind of nuts because you're talking about there's still 2 semifinal games, and there's still a national championship game to be played. And it wouldn't surprise me if some of these schools have guys enter the portal because they know spots are going to be taken up soon, and they can't afford to stay on their respective team until mid to late January when those spots might be taken up. The prime example was Bo Pribula last year for Penn State. The team was literally in the semifinals, and he had to enter the portal because he knew if he didn't, that Missouri job might have been taken else by someone else or another job elsewhere. So that needs to be fixed as well. That's a whole other conversation we can have. But let's get to the games. So we've covered Georgia and Ole Miss. We've covered Miami, Ohio State. Those have been the 2 biggest shocks of this slate. And now I think we should, just so I can feel a little bit better about myself, let's get to the Indiana-Alabama game because the 3 of us collectively looked at this spread when we broke it down. 7 points for Indiana. We looked at it and we were like, how in the hell are the Hoosiers only 7-point favorites in a matchup where we all collectively agreed Alabama didn't do anything better than them? They didn't run the ball better. They don't pass the ball better. They don't defend better. They don't defend the run, the pass. They didn't do anything better. And Indiana had the better coach. There was not one area in this game where Alabama had an advantage. And it showed a 35-point win for the Hoosiers, and they covered that spread well in the first half, up 17-0. Like it was over by halftime in my mind. Like Alabama had no shot. And then you couple that with Ty Simpson leaving with the injury, and we got to watch Austin Mack play, who's been a sophomore. He hasn't really played all that much this year. He appeared in 4 games against Louisiana, Monroe, Wisconsin, Eastern Illinois, and then this game. So just to give you an idea. Yeah, LM. Was that Louisiana, Monroe?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, so there you go. Exactly. So we had to watch Austin Mack play. And as soon as he came in, you just knew the Indiana Hoosiers had this one. Mendoza had more touchdowns than incompletions. I'll just leave it at that. The guy's real good.
Yeah, I could start this.
Yeah, go for it.
Obviously, Fernando, he only threw the ball 16 times. Yeah, and again, crazy stuff. He had more touchdowns and incompletions. And they ran the ball. They got whatever the heck they wanted. I got Keelan Black for 99 yards and Hemby for 89 yards. And they both scored touchdowns. I mean, like, they literally got whatever they wanted. And shout out to Andrew for saying this. Alabama is inept to running the football. I swear to God. Like, 23 yards on the ground. And their leading rusher was Ty Simpson with 3 carries. I mean, it's unbelievable how just they can't run the football. And it's been a problem for weeks, and they just can't figure it out. Yeah, I mean, there's really not much to say. Indiana just dog walks. And I hope you guys bought points like Andrew did. He was buying points for Indiana because this game was never going to be close. No. It was a little upsetting to not see some of the pregame stuff due to the rain in the Rose Bowl in Pasadena. But yeah, it was a great game. I'm just kidding. The game was horrible.
It was a good game for us, for our egos.
It was 100%.
It was a great ego game.
I'm not going to hate Dylan, but especially for your ego.
Yeah, I needed it desperately.
You needed it
after that Georgia collapse, I needed it.
Yeah, I mean, again, Fernando only had 192 yards. He really didn't have to do much.
He didn't have to do anything.
I don't know if Alberto came in the game at the end.
He did, yes.
He did.
Very end.
I mean, that's a cool moment. But yeah, I mean, this game against Oregon is going to be an absolute movie, and I'm so excited for it.
Yeah, speaking of Alberto Mendoza for a second, I mean, Fernando Mendoza in his like press game conference or after the game, he was like, yeah, he's going to be better than I'm ever going to be, so I'm glad he got in the game. And if that's true, then like watch the hell out because Fernando Mendoza is pretty damn good. And I think there was a stat out there that Alabama blitzed Indiana more times than they blitzed any other team this year, and Fernando Mendoza was just 8 for 8 with 3 touchdowns when he was blitzed. So I mean, he just absolutely ripped him up. If you were on Alabama this week, I really question your ball knowledge. Like I
Sure.
really do. Like when I was looking at the panel, like, oh, Desmond, like I was keeping notes. I was like, okay, that guy doesn't know ball. That guy doesn't know ball. You know, like it's kind of like that's crazy to me because it only took a couple like research things. They can't run the football. I'm not even gonna get into it. We got into it last time, but it was just incredible. And I find it pretty funny that and look, I don't disagree. I'm a G5 guy. I don't disagree that they shouldn't be in. But the team with the biggest loss in the playoffs is Alabama. It's not any G5 team. It's not Tulane. It's not JMU. It's Alabama so far. They have a 35-point loss. And you're right. I did end up buying points for the first time in the other direction. I took -7. I took -8. Took -9. Took -10. Turns out I should have gone all the way up to 35. If I knew that, I would have been a very rich man, probably living in a different space with a different background right now. But yeah, I mean, it was a tremendous game. We were all over it, boys. I'm glad the lock symbol finally has some credibility on this show, and let's just keep it building because I know there are some locks left on the board.
Oh, and we'll get to them. Don't worry. I'll have some locks for next week. Don't you worry. But yeah, no, listen, and maybe if you bet all those point number spreads, Andrew, and they won, if you kept going higher, the colors behind you would be like maroon and white just for Indiana, because they'd be funding a lot there. Listen, it was a complete dominating game from start to finish. And Andrew, that's actually an interesting point you mentioned, that this is the biggest point differential in the entire playoff thus far. And everyone wants to talk about the group of 5 teams, and myself included. I don't think they should be included, but it is something that needs to be said. And I think we should give some Notre Dame fans a bit of a platform here, because there is a case to be made that when Alabama lost this game to Georgia 28-7 in the SEC championship game, and I know, Andrew, you're a big proponent of this. You've been pushing this, and I agree with you. There has to be some kind of a stake. Originally, I was of the feeling that if you were to keep them out of the playoff after losing the championship game to Georgia, this was before the final score, by the way, but it's just to me it was like, well, why play the game? Because on a 12-game schedule resume, without that game included, you're in. So the fact that you play that game, and if you lose by maybe a couple points or whatnot, that was kind of my thinking, and there's a chance you don't make it, there's no point in playing. But with that said, you lose by 21 points, that's a different story. And the fact that if you were to beat Georgia by 21, you probably skyrocket to 3 or something along the lines of that. So there has to be stakes in that game, because if Notre Dame is in this game, I'm not saying they win, but they don't lose by 35. And I'm sure the spread is probably, I don't know how this spread was 7, but I guarantee you the spread against Notre Dame is probably 4, maybe 3.5. Like, you're talking, you cut the spread in half, and you're guaranteed to get a much better product because they can run the football. And their quarterback, in my opinion, is just as good, if not better, than Ty Simpson. So, like, put that all aside, and defensively they can play too. I really do think Notre Dame fans should be pissed off that Alabama made this tournament after what we saw in that SEC championship game. I believe there was grounds to keep them out. And don't let that Oklahoma game fool you, because Oklahoma was not a very good team either. They just happened to be reward from a win at Alabama, which at the time looked great and has not aged well. Like, had that win been in week 5, I don't know if Oklahoma makes this dance. But because it happened so late in the year, it was such a quick turnaround for Bama with that championship game loss that just there wasn't enough time to really react and kind of let it soak in. So I do feel bad for Notre Dame fans, specifically my aunt, my cousins. Like, my aunt went to Notre Dame, so just so you know, Dan. So she's been upset about this whole thing, so I don't blame her at all, especially after what we saw yesterday. So
Andrew,
I mean,
I got nothing else to say.
I know you're a big Notre Dame guy, Andrew. So
no, I mean it sucks. I can't watch that team, and you have to make the argument for Alabama because you can't say Miami didn't deserve to be there after what they were so far.
They made the right decision there.
Look, I mean, again, you might say I'm crazy. Maybe people say I'm crazy for saying this, but I think there's a real possibility that if Notre Dame plays Alabama, they do something the same, if not very similar, to what Indiana did to Alabama. Like that's how good I think Notre Dame could have been in this tournament. Part of me is thankful that they're not in this tournament, because then I wouldn't have taken Miami as my sleeper. I probably would have taken Notre Dame as my sleeper. Who knows? Maybe I would have been in the same position. But yeah, I mean, it's a travesty. I mean, it's just, I really wanted to see Notre Dame play the top of the conference, top of the league. I wanted to see that. Now, maybe I could see that if they wanted to play a little bit more of a better schedule. Maybe I could see that throughout the year a little bit more. But yeah, I wanted to see them in the tournament. We didn't see them in the tournament. We saw a team like Alabama, and I was most upset when Alabama had to go play Oklahoma because I wanted to bet against both of those teams. I didn't want to. I didn't want to put any money on those teams, and yeah, it's disappointing. But we got to move on. And next year, if they're just ranked in the top 12, they're going to be in that thing.
I want the committee to start looking at just other than like resume. I wonder if they really do debate like on the field production in the sense of it doesn't take a football watcher to know that Alabama can't run the football. Like you watch a couple games, you look at a couple box scores, really, that's all it takes. You will see like, okay, they obviously can't run. Every game, if I had to bet, they're probably averaging somewhere around 2.8 yards a carry, maybe 3.1. It's nothing impressive. So I wonder if the committee even looks at stuff like that.
Oh,
Or
they
if
do.
just
They do, because when they beat Auburn, when it was such a fabulous win. Sorry, I'm going to go like a little rant here.
go for it,
When it
bro.
was
Take
such a
it.
fabulous win against Auburn that they felt the need to switch them and Alabama. They said Notre Dame and Alabama from 10-9. They said, well, they ran the football well in the first half and they got off to a 17-point lead. That was their two pieces of criteria to flip a Notre Dame team that went on the road against Stanford, who was actually pretty good at home. Stanford, I know they weren't good on the season, and beat them by 1 million, and probably would have beat them by more had they not been up 30 after the first half.
And Love got hurt. in that
Love
game.
got hurt. in that
Right.
game.
Love got her. I mean, they went up. So they go, yeah, they went up 17-0 on Auburn. They ran the football well. Well, I hate to break it to you. They also blew that 17-point lead. Okay. And in the second half, didn't run the ball well. And I understand that their best win was against Georgia. They ended up losing to Georgia. By the way, got shut out in the second half against Georgia in that first game. Like, there were just, to me, and I don't like to shout corruption on any league and anything. I think that's a poor excuse for a lot of things. But to me, it just seemed like they really wanted Alabama in there at all costs, just for the viewership, whatever. And I think that's really disappointing, because I think Notre Dame would have brought something similar, and I think they were actually giving you a better product. But I think we probably should move on and, not talk about Notre Dame too much longer, go on these rants, because I could go on this for the next year probably until they're back in it.
Yeah, it really is a shame. Because you just know that it would not have been this outcome with Indiana. And I probably still would have picked Indiana to win the game. I just think that they're so impressive. But still, like, it would have been most likely a competitive ball game. No doubt about it. Speaking of competitive ball games, we'll move on to Oregon, Texas Tech.
Yeah.
One of the more competitive games on the slate. Texas Tech almost got a field goal. They lose it 23-0. Safe to say that I off the top of my head, I don't remember where we all had our quarterback rankings, but I believe we all had Baron Morton, if not 8, around 7. And I believe we made a correct move there, because, wow, he sucks. 18 of 32, 2 interceptions for him, $137. Averaged 4.3 yards of completion. Just nothing special there. And, I mean, Jacoby Williams for Texas Tech, if it wasn't for that 50-yard run, he had 81 on the day, so you do the math, that's 12. He had 13 carries, so he had 12 carries for 31 yards other than that one big run. It was just an Oregon defensive masterclass. And on the other side of the ball, Dante Moore did not have his best game, but again, kind of similar to Mendoza, just didn't need to do a whole lot. I know Mendoza threw 3 touchdowns, but in this game where the defense was just the winning factor, you saw Dan Lanning was trying to push the envelope very early. Every 4th down around midfield, he was going for it. Didn't matter, because he just had confidence in his defense, and he was trying to get points on the board. And you saw at the very end, he ran at the score a bit, because this game was 16-0, got the final touchdown, and wanted to make it a bigger differential, whatever it was. Dante Moore did not have the best game, but it was enough to win. Now, the one thing that is alarming was the run offense for Oregon. Texas Tech defensively played a great game, in my opinion, because the Oregon rush attack, there was none. They ran for 1.4 yards per carry, over 47 attempts. I guess 10 of those, including Dante Moore, maybe getting some of them were sacked, some of them probably were rushes, but I mean, that's a good track record for Texas Tech. And it stinks that they had to play each other this early, because I think the defenses were just a lot of fun to watch. But with that said, was not a competitive game. It just, Texas Tech, every time they had the ball, it was just 3 and outs, 3 and outs, 3 and outs. And again, if they didn't get that 50-yard carry early on, they almost had a field goal. The guy missed it. Just brutal game. Andrew, I'll go to you, because you were the one who chose Oregon here to cover the 2.5. And for the reasons you cited, you didn't believe in Texas Tech's offense due to the lack of tests they've had over their season this year, with BYU being the quote-unquote best defense they've had to go up against. They finally play a Big Ten defense, and it really showed the difference in competition.
Yeah, I mean, they really just going back to they did struggle against BYU offensively if you actually go and watch the games because they ended up getting 7 total turnovers in those 2 games, right? And that helps a lot. A lot of those were in plus territory, and they were able to score a lot of points off of that. It really stinks that their offense kind of crapped the bed like I thought they would because their defense really showed up. Their defense played really, really well. I think it was the first time they lost the turnover margin. I think they lost 4-0 in this game. And I did say it
4-1,
would
yeah.
be the team that makes the most plays defensively that wins the game, and that was Oregon in this case. But man, I mean, you still didn't know, even in the fourth quarter, despite all the stats Dylan laid out of how bad Texas Tech was offensively, you still didn't know because of how good Texas Tech was defensively in this game, keeping this thing tight all the way to the end. 2 possessions until Dan Lanning just wanted to shove it down their throat with as time expired and go in for one more and make it 23-0. But yeah, I was impressed with Texas Tech's defense and how they adjusted and how I really thought that maybe the talent level of Oregon offensively was going to really impact the Texas Tech defense. That did not happen. Now, the Oregon talent defensively really did impact the Texas Tech offense, and that ended up being the difference. I think Texas Tech could have been really fun. I don't think Baron Morton is as bad as he showed. It's hard to say that because that's what we have to go off of right now, but it's a shame. Yeah, I had him 7. You guys had him 8. If we had to redo that right now, I'm probably putting Ty Simpson above him because Ty Simpson was better, and that team can't run the football. So I don't really know where to go with it. I think they're going to be okay. I think Baron Morton's done, so I don't think we're ever really going to get more out of him. We're probably not going to see him at any other level of meaningful football again. But yeah, it's disappointing because the defense was the big question mark for me, Texas Tech, and they answered that big and early. And yeah, it's a shame we don't get to see him play anymore because of their offense.
Yeah, I mean, I think Morton's coming off a really significant injury too. They said he was about 90%. You know what? There's a couple stats I was looking at. With Oregon on 3rd down, they went 4 of 19, but on 4th down, they went 4 of 8. So, I mean, it didn't matter. Dan Lanning had his game plan going in. He was like, if it's 4th and short, I'm going for this. You know what? There's 2 guys on Oregon. They're both of their tight ends that I absolutely love as NFL prospects, Jamari Johnson and Kenyon Sadiq. And Sadiq's going to be a first-round pick, I think. I have him going. I saw a couple mock drafts. I have him going late first rounds to a Denver Bronco type team. But yeah, I think that Dante Moore was good. I didn't think he had to be great because I did not expect Texas Tech to put up a donut in the college football quarterfinal. But they lost the turnover margin, as you said, it was 4-1 or 4-0 or whatever. Yeah, and Oregon didn't have to be special, and they still won this game. So I'm looking at this next game and how are they going to make these adjustments? You can't go 4-19 on 3rd down against an Indiana squad. That's just not going to fly. You're not going to win this game. It doesn't matter how many times you can go for it on 4th down. Yeah, at Texas Tech with total yards just above 200. That's not going to get it done. I feel bad for Baron Morton. I feel like this defense was just swarming, and they just didn't have an answer. And unfortunately, you're not going to see a Jacob Rodriguez. You'll see him at the next level for sure, but you're not going to see him move on in that defense. So, kudos to you, Andrew, for picking Oregon. I thought Texas was going to win this game, but they proved me wrong. All right, and their running backs with Hill and Davison on Oregon, they combined it for what 55 yards of total of gain on the ground. If they want to win this game again, they need to clean it up in their run game. You can't have 64 yards of rushing game. But yeah, I'm looking at this next game. I'm really excited for it. Down in Atlanta, I believe. So yeah.
Yeah, no. One thing I want for the Giants is to draft this Lee Hunter guy from Texas Tech, this 6'4", 325 defensive lineman. Put him next to Dexter Lawrence. Nice. This guy's a machine. You watch the game. He's running around, making all these tackles in the backfield. He's blowing up run plays, and he is just a game wrecker. He's a huge dude. I love watching him. He's great. It's part of why I was rooting for them too, not only because I picked them and I had a little bit of money on it. Wasn't much, but he's just a fun guy to watch. So I hope that wherever he ends up in the NFL, I'll keep tabs on that because he's just fun to watch. But yeah, 23-0. Maybe I was a little too harsh on Baron Morton, given that Oregon's defense is really, really good, but just Listen, Dan, we lost this bet, but the defense
know.
showed up. We just
Yeah.
needed a little bit of offensive output, and
Couldn't even get
maybe
3
there's a
of 'em.
shot.
I shout out Stone Harrington last week and got absolutely nothing. Bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny when we saw the kicking matchups. I saw Stone Harrington and Atticus Sappington. I was like, "What the hell are
Great
these
name.
names? Like some
Great
crazy
good
names
names.
here." Yeah, like I gotta meet these parents. What was Stone and Atticus? Good God. But yeah, no. So not the greatest of games there, but again, the slate yesterday wasn't great up until the nightcap. We had a masterclass of a game, 39-34. Your Ole Miss Rebels, Dan. One hell of a win. So we started the slate great, ended it off great as well. So you can't really complain too much. Now, if you want, we'll do a quick little preview on the upcoming matchups. Just maybe your initial lean to who wins and who covers the spread. I don't know if the spreads are out already.
Yeah, they're out.
If they are out, maybe we just kind of give a instant reaction pick, and then before we do any real deep dive into it, we see if maybe those answers change when we come back and do an actual preview video, and just kind of an initial thought like, okay, this is the spread and this is where we're going. So Andrew, well, let me see. Where's the spreads at here?
I
Playoff.
got him. I got him.
You got him up. All right, Dan, I'll let you start then. You got him in front of you.
All right. So Indiana and Oregon, January 9th, 7:30. They're giving IU 4 points, so -4.
Okay.
I think that game is going to be a great game. I don't know. The spread. I don't know who I'm going to lean to. I think that Oregon, man. I don't know, man. That defense played super well, but so does Indiana. So I'm going to need time to think about this. I think it's going to be a great game with both NFL type quarterbacks. And then my Ole Miss Rebels are +3 against Miami.
Wow. Andrew, I think Vegas is on to
Andrew, bro.
I mean, this is
3 points.
It took 2 rounds, but everybody's finally waking up. Maybe this is the time that I go the other way now. When everybody is like overrating Miami a little bit, maybe I go the other way. I don't know what I feel on that game just yet. I mean, I think right now, gun to my head, if I had to pick both teams right now, I think I'd take both favorites. That could change. I think it's more likely to change in the Miami game than it is the Indiana game, because I think Indiana is probably the best team in the country, and I'm starting to think that there's a gap between the next team.
Okay.
I really am starting to think that. I don't know if Oregon's defense is as good as they played against Texas Tech. Like I'm not sure. I'm not sure if maybe it was a little bit of Texas Tech offense. Maybe they were so embarrassed, Oregon, by the way that they finished that JMU game, that they were like, all right, we got to bear down and let's show them what we can do. I don't know if Oregon's defense is that good. I know that Indiana's defense is that good. I know that their offense is that good. So that's probably where I'll stay for the next show. Miami, I might switch on, but yeah, we'll see. Those are gonna be incredible games.
Yes, I got a couple over unders. 51.5 for the Miami Ole Miss game, 47.5 for Oregon and Indiana. So they're expecting
high numbers.
Ole Miss game to be a shootout, which is great. Yeah, which is great. I'm not like I think the Indiana Alabama one was like 41.5, 40.5. So I'm glad we're going to see teams with great offenses actually too.
I'll tell you what, Andrew. I think I'm with you on this with Miami, because I think we finally get the game offensively from them where they show everything they can do, because this is the matchup that they've been looking for, where they can go up against a weaker defense that's prone to give up points, yards, the whole thing. Miami had to play some really tough defenses the first go around, with Texas A&M, Mike Elko being their head coach, defensive minded. Ohio State, Ryan Day, Matt Patricia. They just have statistically. I heard it a million times. They've had the best defense since like 2009.
Yep.
Statistically in college football. So those are some really tough matchups for them offensively, and they still did enough to get it done, especially on the ground. So now you pair that in this game where we thought Georgia did a good job running the football. It might be uphill sledding, but they are favored by 3. It's crazy the turnaround for them.
I can't believe that.
For Indiana, that's my slight lean initially, because I just do think that they are just awesome. And you saw Oregon, how they were able to really make Barron Morton uncomfortable. They were just blitzing the hell out of him and making him make decisions. And Mendoza on the blitz against Bama, I think you said, Andrew, what was he, 8 for 8? With like
I think he was
touchdowns or something.
8 for 8 with over 100 yards and 3 touchdowns. All 3 of his touchdowns came against the blitz.
So this guy is comfortable with the blitz. It seems like they know how to pick up blitzes. Like he knows how to kind of call where he wants his protection. That's why he won the Heisman. That's why he's going to be the first quarterback off the board. He just sees the field. So initially,
is
that's
such
where
a
my
stud.
lean is.
He's just such a stud. The
Yeah, he
guy, he is so humble after he wins these
Yeah.
games. It's like he did nothing and he just casually just beat like the most prolific college football team in the last 2 decades by 1,000,000 points. And then like they have the nerve, Kirk Cignetti and like Fernando Mendoza be like, yeah, Alabama played a really tough team, tough game. That's a really tough opponent. They just beat the absolute living daylights out of them. Just they're impressive, dude. They're really impressive. And I see all the stats like that they're ranked 72nd in like the talent profile based on like the 4 stars, the 3 stars Indiana, and like Alabama's got like 15 5-stars on that team. Like it's really fun to root for. Dylan and I root for a crap team. You could see the helmet behind his right shoulder. We root for Rutgers. We only wish that we could have this turnaround. Okay, so it's kind of cool to see another team doing it, while at the same time there's a little jealousy involved. But yeah, it's hard not to root for it. Our cousin goes there or went there, graduated from there, and he's looking to go to the national championship. Dylan and I are going to be at this Oregon-Indiana game next week at the Peach Bowl. It's going to be our second time ever going to the Peach Bowl. The first was LSU, Joe Burrow and LSU against Jalen Hurts in Oklahoma way back in the day. So that was an epic game. Probably the best team that I know Dylan and I have ever seen in person. Maybe the best team anybody's ever seen. Yeah, it's going to be a fun game. I'm really excited to watch them play.
Give you a reminder, Dan. That game was 63-28. Joe Burrow had 500 yards, 7 touchdowns.
7 touchdowns all in the first half.
Yes. I remember that. I do have, just before we wrap this up, FanDuel, awesome. I hope we can get that as a sponsor one day. They give out stats on the games about how much percent is going to the money line and the spread. I just clicked the Indiana game. 86% of the spread of the money is on Indiana spread, and 80% of the bets are for their money line are on Indiana as well. So
okay.
And then listen, is pretty even.
It's hard to go against that, man. They've been consistently great all year. Every stat that you look at or every area that you look at, and they're like, yeah, they've been good. They showed up in that area, so it's been difficult to kind of go against the grain there. Just to highlight too in that game, I'm just looking at this box score. Justin Jefferson, 14 catches, 227, 4 touchdowns.
Dog.
Oof, good God. If I told you Jamar Chase only had 2 catches for 60 yards, I wouldn't be lying to you. I mean, it's like insane game. But yes, we will have we probably won't have a video or anything, but I'll have pictures and other videos and stuff up on the Allen Hour Instagram and account when we're there next week. So definitely stay tuned for that. But yeah, we got ourselves one hell of a finish to this college football playoff. I can't wait. Unfortunately, it's only a matter of a couple weeks now. This will all be done until August 31st or whenever the first game is in Dublin, the Ireland game. So let's make the most of it, guys. This is going to be a fun close to it all. I think the best at this point, and I hate to say it, Dan, Mendoza against the Miami defensive front, I think would be pure cinema for a national championship. But with that said, I also will tie it in. Mendoza versus Trinidad Chambliss would also be must-see TV.
Oh, man, this is awesome. Trinidad,
you can't go wrong.
D2 transfer, no offers. Come on, man.
Dan, are you not tired of like Lane Kiffin just cashing checks every time you?
I mean, it's also the fact that if he was at that game,
he was.
I don't know what I would have done.
He was in the suite. He was there.
He was at the game. Oh, he was there.
No, he wasn't.
Picks with his family.
He was.
He wasn't there.
He's a diva. You know that? He is a diva.
He wasn't in any of the pictures.
No, he was not there. He just posted the pictures of his family. He was with Kim Mulkey at the LSU women's basketball game against Kentucky. That's where he was. But his family was there. He posted, and then he's on on X. I was gonna call it Twitter. I'm gonna whatever.
That's fine. Call whatever.
X. He's posted like because all the guys in the panel picked Georgia. He's posting. He's like, I can't believe they did this. They're just gonna wait and see. I mean, you're not our coach. This is like an ex-girlfriend type thing. You gotta let her go here, man. Like you gotta stop. Like you have a whole other squad, and it's just like I'm gonna miss Charlie Weiss like a motherfucker next year. Okay, because that guy. If I had to see Joe Judge, he's the game management coordinator. If I had to see him be the OC next year, oh man! And it was like the end of the first half. This is my last thing. At the end of the first half, they should have ran it, maybe a second down. Or I don't know how you don't go out of bounds if that's Daquan Wright. I mean, I don't know how you don't go out of bounds or Trinidad Town go out of bounds. Or maybe he just wasn't listening. But they kept showing Joe Judge, and I texted both of you. I said, I need to stop seeing Joe Judge on my screen. Like, it's horrible.
He was furious.
You're telling me I had that guy as my coach.
Our
head
squad,
coach. Yeah, that's right. Our head. I had enough of
Shit,
that guy.
man.
I didn't need to be
Shit.
reminded that he existed in football still. I was just kind of like happy wherever.
Yeah.
I kind of forgot he was with Ole Miss, to be honest. And then they
Shout
showed
out
him all
Lucas
furious.
Yeah, and shout out Lucas Carnero, man. The
That guy can
second and
kick,
third
man.
longest kicks in CFB history, 55 and 56, and the 47-yard game winner. Both of his 55-yarder kicks, whatever, 54, yeah, they might have been good from 60. I
Yep.
think they were good from 60 plus. That kid has a
100%.
leg.
Yeah, probably
The
6'7".
Giants will draft him.
6'7", they were probably good for
He's
him.
a junior, Dylan. So
Okay. All right. Well, I
hope
hope the Giants grab him because they need a kicker. They can't go Graham Gano or
he's got some
Young
proof.
Wei Koo again. Oof, God.
Hotty
I'll tell you what,
toddy,
though.
guys.
The kicker, you said it's Caniero. That's his name?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Carnero,
that will be I will be weighing him into this spread because 3 points, like for Ole Miss, when you got a guy that's essentially the Brandon Aubrey, it seems like, of college football. I'm taking that into account.
Only
Like,
one
I've got a
game.
guy who can kick from 55. I'm not all of a sudden being like, okay, well, Ole Miss is going to go for it. No, they're going to kick this.
Exactly.
They're going to let this guy kick. So,
Although that
DraftKings-
Miami kicker gets a bad rap for that Texas A&M game. He's a pretty good kicker.
no, he
so-
does. You're right.
Exactly. So DraftKings has 2.5. DraftKings has 3. FanDuel has 2.5. So do with that what you will.
Whoa, you tell me I can get Miami at 2.5 right now on
2.5.
FanDuel?
Yeah.
Whoa. Might be a dangerous game. Can I get
Andrew,
him at
don't do it,
3.5,
man.
4.5, 5.5,
Come
and
on,
6.5?
Stop it. Actually, I'm sorry.
Look,
It's
you
a
guys just beat
Thursday.
my national champion pick. You guys just humble pieing me right to my face. I mean,
Yeah.
they have my respect. They've always had my respect.
Dylan, will I see you on Thursday of this week in New York City?
On the 8th?
Yeah. And the
Probably
9th?
not.
Okay.
No, we're flying out.
you'll be in the
We're
game.
flying out the 8th.
I didn't
and
know if you
coming
were
back the
working
10th.
the afternoon shift or whatever.
No. Not
Awesome.
next week.
I'm
but
excited
yeah,
for you guys, man. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, we're gonna have a great
Thank
time.
you.
It's gonna be
It'll
cool.
be a great time.
I need some pictures and stuff.
So, Dan, if Ole Miss goes to the Natty, are you going?
Oh, yeah. If Ole Miss goes to the Natty, I have to. I was telling you before, I have some friends. It's not a flex. I have some people that I met that are in the Ole Miss athletic department, and they texted me. Well, I texted them and said, "Hotty, freaking toddy," and they came back and said, "Hope to see you in Phoenix. We're flying out on Wednesday." So, I mean, the tickets
There you
aren't
go.
expensive either. Like that's like they're like 200. That's like nothing.
Whoa.
That
Right.
is not that expensive for the
And
biggest
I
game in that program's history.
And I have family in Scottsdale too. I mean, right over there.
Dan.
What do we? I mean, come on.
It's shaping
know.
up to be
It's-
meant
it
to
is.
be. We could get
I know,
coverage of
man.
both games.
Both games.
On
That'd be
here.
the first time in
We need a meet pass.
Allen Hour is.
Yeah, facts. I'll have to start requesting for credentials here.
Dude, I'll tell you later.
I'll tell you what though. There's been like a joke when we walk around our house, Dylan and I'll just be like, "What about a Miami home game national championship?" And we're like 1 win away from them playing in Miami for the national championship. Just saying.
Did you touch?
Would that be the
future
first time
bet?
that's ever happened?
It has to be the first time that's ever happened.
Did you touch a future bet for Miami?
Well, I have 15 to win 400 on Miami.
Yeah, I've 10 to win 300 for Ole Miss.
Yeah.
I did it in Jersey.
My
That'll be pure
payout-
cinema next
My
week. if
cash
that's
out
the case.
zoomed up as soon as they were favored against Ole Miss. I think I'm at like 100 already.
Pure cinema.
Yeah.
That'll be pure. Yeah, exactly. The meme. If it's Ole Miss versus Miami, y'all are guaranteed. One of you is guaranteed some big
That's-
bucks.
If,
Yeah.
if
Don't cash
Georgia
out of
would have
this.
I might
stacked up
cash.
and won that game, I would have been guaranteed one of them. Those were my two futures was Miami and Georgia. I would have been guaranteed one of them in the game. But you know what? Ole Miss, howdy toddy.
Toddy, bro. Trinidad Chambliss. He's that guy, man. Can't
Belt.
deny greatness.
ETA.
That's it. Let me see that belt again, Michael Irvin. Let me see that belt.
All right. Yo, also he needs to chill, like when he's on the sideline. But
Can you also go on all fours like Michael Irvin?
no, we're not
Yeah, you
doing
gotta get
that.
down
We're not doing- he's a little ridiculous. I mean, he thinks he's on the team. I mean, he's a big alum, but like you're not on the team anymore, bro. Whatever. He's
They
going
had
all
him and Ray
fours.
Lewis out there. That's pretty
Yeah.
insane
And
stuff.
yeah,
This
and
fella.
Ray standing, he's on all fours, and Ray's like, "What the hell are you doing, man? Come on."
Oh, all right.
What a
Well,
night last night. Unbelievable.
What a slate of games. I can't wait for this upcoming slate next week. On Thursday, that's the first one with Miami Ole Miss. On the 8th, that's 7:30 on ESPN. And then on Friday, the game Andrew and I will be at will be just an absolute masterclass. Indiana, Oregon, the rematch. Indiana got the win at Oregon earlier in the regular season, 30-20. So we'll see how it unfolds next week in the biggest game for both of those teams this season. So everything will be here next week. We're going to do another video before we fly out to Atlanta. covering these upcoming matchups, giving more in-depth analysis, giving our picks for the game as well. I know we touched a little bit on the surface of the initial spreads, but we will dive a lot more into those games next week. So make sure you stay tuned for that video coming out here on the Allen Hour. For Dan and for Andrew, I'm Dylan saying thanks for watching, everyone. Make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, leave a like. We're going to touch on all the comments from the previous video about our predictions going into the quarterfinals, and then our recap of this quarterfinal round. So any comments you have, whether it's about Notre Dame not getting in and being fed up about that, whether it's about Miami surprising the world, beating Ohio State, you name it, leave it in the comment section below. Check out our social media handles. I'll have everything linked in the description below. Again, subscribe, leave a comment, leave a like, and we'll see you guys next time.